Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the house. So, it's 1993.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No. You look ridiculous. Thanks.
Okay then. Fine. Wait, so the LA Raiders aren't playing anymore?
The LA Raiders don't exist anymore.
God damn it.
In fact, it's 2023.
Holy!
Yeah.
It's the future.
The future is now.
Do we have mutants?
No.
We will.
Apparently, according to
Chronicles.
this chronicle, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Hello and welcome back. So, I have Jahn with me here once more, and we are going to talk about
Mutant Chronicles.
The role-playing game.
The role-playing game, yes.
So, Jahn, would you like to just tell us what Mutant Chronicle is?
Yeah, so Mutant Chronicles is a sci-fi, sort of dark, post-apocalyptic kind of setting. A little bit of cyberpunk, a little bit of diesel punk. And it's set in a dystopian future where mutants have invaded the solar system.
Nice.
And humanity is barely holding on.
I like it.
Yeah. That's the short of it.
That's the short. And this game is was it from 1993?
1993. Yeah.
This is
That's
old school.
Yeah. That's when the first edition of Mutant Chronicles was produced. It was produced by a Swedish company called Target Games, who also produced a lot of other Mutant Chronicles related things. Mutant Chronicles actually came out of another role-playing game called Mutant.
And if you guys have played
Mutant
video
Year Zero,
Mutant Year Zero is the original of that.
Yeah, that's the newest
Mutant.
iteration of the Mutant role-playing game. Yeah.
Is there any is there anything that crosses over from Mutant to Mutant Chronicles? Nothing
Really.
It has become two separate things.
It's two separate sort of worlds. Yeah.
And also, so you in the 90s you had the role-playing game Mutant Chronicles, and you had the card game.
Yes, you had two card games actually.
Yeah.
You had Doom Troopers, and you had one called Dark Eden.
Yes, that's true. And then also you had a miniatures game in the 90s also.
Yes, called Warzone.
And a board game that might not have been in the 90s. I don't know. The Citadel.
Yeah, the Siege of the Citadel was originally published, I think, in 1993.
93?
Yeah, it's really old.
That early?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think. Yeah. There's also two more board games, Blood Berets, and one more that I can't recall right now.
And there was a miniatures game from Fantasy Flight Games in 2008, which is what you see here. I remember collecting them back in the days. I actually really liked this game, but it was discontinued.
Yes, it was.
And there was something else, as we talked about earlier, that came out, Mutant Chronicles related, in 2008.
Yes, that is Mutant Chronicles, the movie.
Oof. With Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
And Thomas Jane.
Yeah, from the first Punisher movie.
I was so hyped when that movie came out. I was like, ooh, this is gonna rock. But it really didn't, though.
It really didn't.
And I would have never guessed it had anything to do with Mutant Chronicles either.
No.
No.
If you didn't know the name of the movie, it would be hard to know, even though there are some elements the corporations and the Brotherhood and all that. But
that's true. Okay, so that brings us to Mutant Chronicles, the role-playing game, which we are going to talk about today. And this is the third edition of the game?
Third edition, yes.
We've played this a little bit.
We played it a little bit. We played sort of the introductory adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my character was badass.
Yeah? Good at burning things and smashing through walls.
Punching
through walls, yeah.
Yeah.
General punching, actually, yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about this version of the role-playing game, and we're going to talk about our first. It's just first impressions. We're probably going to do another video on this once we've played a lot more. Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about, I guess, the system.
The system,
because this is different for anybody who's played Dungeons and Dragons. This is a different system. It still uses 20-sided dice, but it's they call the system a 2d20 system, which is that most tests are done rolling 2 20-sided dice. And then you have a certain target number that you're trying to roll under, and then successes bring you closer to achieving what you're trying to achieve. And if you're trying to do something easy, you don't need many successes to succeed. But if you're doing something harder, then you're going to need a lot of successes to actually achieve what you're trying to do. Like sneaking through a crowded room without somebody spotting you is easier than sneaking through a completely empty room that is guarded. So you would roll the same dice, but you would need more successes on your die rolls. It also uses 6-sided dice. It doesn't use that whole thing that, for example, Dungeons and Dragons uses, where there are a set of 7 dice. You typically need 2 20-sided dice and a couple of 6-sided dice per player.
And this introduction adventure is kind of set before the main story of the Mutant Chronicles era or setting or timeline. This is kind of like before everything goes crazy.
Yeah, this is actually set around the time when things start to happen. So the 3rd edition of the role-playing game explores the early era of the Mutant Chronicles setting, which is called the Dark Symmetry era, for anybody who actually knows the setting. And it's set over 1,000 years before the setting that has typically been explored in previous publications, such as the Miniatures Games, both the one from Fantasy Flight and the other ones, and the previous editions of the role-playing game.
Yeah. So this is actually different then from like the 2nd edition where it focuses most in the lore as well.
Yes. The game, the role-playing game does allow you to play different eras.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there will be certain notes on, certain organizations might not exist, or certain types of professions might not exist yet. It's an interesting take.
And there are different corporations. You want to touch upon the different ones and how?
Yeah, so the way the story goes is that when the resources on Earth start to dwindle, these giant mega corporations sort of take over time, right? So you have Mishima, which is based around Japan, and they have a very sort of Japanese feel to them. You have Bauhaus, which is based around Central and Northern Europe.
Very German feel to them.
Yeah, very German feel to them. They also have a lot of if your character is from Bauhaus, you have a proper functioning welfare system.
Mine was.
And there's a rule for that, which is pretty cool.
And like when we were creating our characters, I rolled a Bauhaus character, and then because of that, I had a better chance of having gone through several military careers without having both aged and gotten so many health consequences because of the welfare and the healthcare system they had in the Bauhaus.
So for specifically Bauhaus, your job security and your health benefits are written into the rules. Which is
so that was pretty cool. So my guy had 3 military careers before we started. That was pretty cool.
But let's the other corporations you have Imperial, which is based around Britain. They're the explorers. You have Capital, which is based around the US. And then later you will also have other corporations. So in the future of this, should we do like a spoiler thing?
Sure. Spoiler thing.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So just sort of cover your ears or skip. Should we do a signal when the...
I'll give a thumbs up when the spoiler is done.
Yeah, okay.
Going now.
So in the future, of course, you have the Brotherhood, which is this religious organization, will become an important player. You have the Cartel, which will appear, which is this other sort of like corporate UN, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. They will form like the Stormtroopers special unit, Doom Troopers special unit, because of course Doom, and then White Star, which is when in this setting Earth has been abandoned, but some people stayed behind, namely Russia.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, and then the Russians will turn into White Star, which doesn't quite function like the other corporations, but they're sort of the people who stayed behind on Earth and sort of...
Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad of spoilers, it's just more on the...
Yeah, it's more like if you didn't want to know.
Yeah. If you want to find out.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there more to say there?
No, I think
the signal.
Yeah, do the signal.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about our introduction adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, Jahn was our game master, and I mean, half the time we'd had no idea what was going on, and we sidetracked a little bit, and we spent more time and energy maybe doing the wrong things sometimes, but that is the fun of these.
Well, that's kind of the thing about a role-playing game, is that you can't really do the wrong thing. It's really hard to get completely sidetracked. It's possible. It's very possible if you know that happens, but
we weren't as efficient. If we had been more efficient, there would have been more that we had discovered, because the time is kind of ticking.
Yeah,
so that's
the thing. So you have to prioritize, and there's a lot of investigation going on.
And if you think like, you don't know what is important and what is not. So we were like, this seems important. We should spend lots of energy and turns trying to figure this out. But that wasn't relevant at all. And there was something else that was very time relevant. Like we had a small time window to check that out, and we didn't because we were doing something else. And then by the time we had gotten to the other part, things have happened.
Yeah, but that's sort of just like in any good story. It sort of adds to the narrative.
Absolutely, that was really cool.
Because getting a little bit sidetracked and doing things that are not related. I mean, you can imagine how interesting would Lord of the Rings have been if everybody just stayed together, went to Mordor, and did the thing. Right? It's more interesting to sort of see all these things around it happen.
And the investigation part is really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of investigation. In role-playing games in general tends to be investigation, and combat tend to be very important.
But in this specific adventure, we were also kind of hired almost as investigators or officers.
Yeah, so you work as freelancers for the police on Luna. Luna City, which is the biggest city in the solar system. It's on the moon, and it's the site of the first colony outside of Earth. But yeah, we played the scenario start to finish.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It was a bit different than what I expected. And it has some cyberpunk things.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing about the Dark Symmetry era. There's more cyberpunk and less of that whole diesel punk thing. Because as things go bad, humanity will sort of go away from all this high-tech stuff and go back to, things that are just less digital, more analog, things that sort of, are more reliable.
Yeah, it felt a bit Blade Runner-y.
Yeah, that was kind of the point.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've touched upon the lore and mechanics, or anything else you want to talk about?
So, you haven't really played much role-playing games before.
Just Just a little bit D&D.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you think of this as sort of a role-playing experience?
I mean, the setting appeals to me, and I really enjoy the whole both sci-fi and horror, and I really enjoyed the whole role-playing experience with this.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to continue and explore this world and do more games. Where are we continuing after this? Because we're not going to go back to the same thing, because we're going to jump in time a little bit.
Yeah, so like any role-playing game, you can just keep playing and see where it goes. But I was planning on continuing through the published stories. And there's a sort of little interlude that I wanted to do with some pre-made characters. The first adventure also has pre-made characters that you can choose to use. But it's also fun to sort of get your own character made, because then you feel more of a connection to it. Yeah. So it's a little bit extra work, but
absolutely, it's worthwhile. And the whole system and the setting and everything, the 90s feel to it, 80s, 90s feel to it is just so fun.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So if you're a fan of all the 80s cyberpunk sci-fi stuff, this is probably right up your alley.
Yeah, yeah. The whole diesel punk thing.
Yeah, that will come into later.
Yeah.
Like, have you read the book? I think it's William Gibson book, Neuromancer?
No, I have not.
It could have been almost the same setting as well.
Right. Yeah. No, I have not. But it has like you said, a very sort of Blade Runner-y feel to it at this point.
Absolutely.
Gonna do something about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mutant Chronicles.
Mutant Chronicles. Sort of first impressions, I guess.
I loved it. And I look forward to coming back to this and getting to learn both more about the system, the different, all the things in the lore and the stories we're gonna check out. And the other things that I enjoyed was like the weapon, armor, and like abilities, and all that stuff was also pretty cool. It reminds me a tiny bit also of maybe Warhammer 40k sometimes, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit,
yeah. So if you guys like sci-fi, cyberpunk, all the other stuff you mentioned,
all the good stuff,
go check it out. Any final words?
Go check it out. Well, no, actually there is one thing that is worth mentioning.
Yes.
This game is actually out of print.
Well, you're not going to be able to check it out.
You might be still. If you search for Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition or Mutant Chronicles RPG 3rd edition, you might still be able to find places that sell these books. Partially because it went out of print not very long ago.
Yeah.
And also because there are sites that just sell PDFs, and sometimes games that have been out of print for a while can still be found as PDFs. True. So could be worth having a look into.
And one final thing as well is there's another Kickstarter thing related to Mutant Chronicles.
There is.
You jumped on.
Yeah.
I was too late.
I pledged for the Warzone Eternal miniatures game, which is set in the Mutant Chronicles universe, and it is the newest version of Warzone. It's actually the 4th version of Warzone.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm
I hope to play that. Once you get it, I'm down if you want to check it out. Alright guys, good. I'm going back to 1993. Oh, God. Yo, my dude! Yeah. Okay then. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah! Yeah! Jahn, where'd you go?